attendance is going to be very less because it's a Sunday. In that case, I wouldn't want to do that. So can I have a raise of hands of all those who don't mind joining on a Sunday also? Like if you can all be there tomorrow also without any issues. Attendance is going to be very less because it's a Sunday. Yeah. Okay. So tomorrow, so many of you are fine. I hope the rest of you are also fine. Amrita Mataji, Neha, Vinod Prabhuji, Devika Mataji, you're all fine to join tomorrow. What about the others? Are you all okay with the class tomorrow? If you can also put it in the chat also, it's fine. If it's going to be a problem for many of you to be able to come tomorrow, in that case, we will just tomorrow is fine, says Sudhanshu Prabhu. All right. I think many of you are fine with it tomorrow. In case there is an issue, just let me know. But otherwise, I think we shouldn't miss out on a Sunday because it's an 18-day course. We would like to finish it in like maybe 19 at the most 20 days. Okay, so let's begin. I'm traveling. Yes, Shirish Prabhu. Yes, it's very nice that in spite of traveling, you're joining, in the bus. So, as Prabhuji had requested, I would like to do a quick recap of chapter 3 so far. So, chapter 3 is basically the name of the chapter is Karma Yoga. And the chapter begins by Arjuna's question as to what is the why are you asking me to renounce, and at the same time you're asking me to work. That's because some of the verses which Krishna discusses in chapter 2, it's like spend your whole give your time to understand Krishna. Like he feels that it is all about meditating on who you really are and the soul and not the body, and so he feels that okay, if it's a material thing doesn't matter, then why don't I just renounce? And so he thinks that Krishna is trying to say that by giving up your actions, you're renouncing. But then so that's why and then again Krishna says fight. So Arjuna gets very confused, and that's why the question comes. And Krishna begins the chapter 3 after that by answering with the Nishkama Karma Yoga. He talks about how you should do Nityam Kuru Karma. He says you need to do your work, regardless of your desire to renounce. You might feel the desire to renounce, but then as you get spiritual knowledge, you might get a strong desire to renounce, but that is not the right way. You're supposed to do, niyatam kuru karma. You're supposed to do your work, your duties continuously. But only difference is you should keep Krishna in your mind. So whatever you do, you keep praying to Krishna and keep saying, Krishna, you guide me. I don't know what I have to do. Keep guiding me, be with me. And you're all the time having Krishna in your mind. So those are the verses. And then we will see today. Actually, I didn't do very many verses yesterday. I couldn't cover much yesterday because I think I went very deep into some of those topics and I got a little lost. So so that's basically it. I think anybody else has any other sharing from yesterday's class? I think there isn't anything other than these major topics which I felt. Yes, Amrita Mataji wants to share something. Yes, Mataji. Yesterday, did I say something else of significance which you remember? You can unmute, Mataji. Who had the raised hand? Okay. I think the hand is lowered now. All right. If anybody remembers something, please raise your hand and say. Otherwise, Prabhuji, I will be sharing. I'll be definitely. These things will keep repeating, so you will get an idea of what has been discussed. So I'm sure it will be you'll be fine with that. So I'm going to continue now. So paying obeisances to the beautiful deities of Sri Radha Govinda temple. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे. Glories to all glories to founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, His Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, His disciple, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj, His disciple Temple, President His Grace Namasha Das Prabhu, and cannot begin without taking the blessings of Aishwarya Mataji and Rashmi Mataji and all other Shiksha Gurus from whom I have gained this, whatever knowledge I'm sharing. So we are continuing with the chapter 3. Yesterday we spoke about, okay, I think it's gone back to the beginning. So yesterday we spoke about, so these are the things we spoke about yesterday. We spoke about how this whole story of Bharat, actually I spent a lot of time with the story of Bharat Maharaj and how it shows that, false renunciation doesn't help and how people will misconstrue you if you think that you're taking up sannyas. And we learned about the very horrible word mithyachar, I think, right? Okay. And then we had come to this verse, which was verse number 14. And we are just going to approach a very nice, beautiful concept. Mother's the attendance has come down a lot, and that's feeling, very disappointing for me. Although, of course, it is natural, because people are not interested in Krishna. So the attendance, I know, will come down, but still it is a bit disturbing. So, Chitra Master, if you can put a reminder also in the group that the class has started or something. It's only 25 have joined yet. So today we're going to discuss the basic, very, very interesting idea about this cycle of sacrifice. It's a very important and crucial concept. Plus, we will get to know a little about, how the demigods are part and parcel of Krishna. We will get to know how how the cycle works and why it is so crucial for us to do yajna. So in this 3.14 verse, Krishna says, all the living bodies, they subsist on food grains which are produced from rains, right? Whatever food grains we are eating, due to which our body is there, is because of the rains. The rains are produced how? So this is a very, very unique concept which we understand from the Bhagavad Gita. The rains are produced by performance of yajna. How amazing is that? Krishna is declaring, as scriptures are saying, there is, actually, if you're going to say that I'm going to have my doubts, then, you will not be able to go further. So you need to have that faith that when Krishna is saying that whenever you're performing your yajna is nothing but your prescribed duties. Whatever your prescribed duties are, if you do it as a sacrifice, ideally as a sacrifice to the demigods or to Krishna, highest is Krishna, or at least a sacrifice to the demigods, then that becomes a yajna when you do it as a sacrifice. Even if you do it as a sacrifice to your extended, selfish circle, which is your family members, even that is okay. But the higher than that is the demigods, and best is if you are able to realize who is Krishna and you're able to do whatever you do, your prescribed duties for Krishna. And that actually helps to bring about prosperity. Here the rain signify also prosperity and auspiciousness. So the world becomes a better place when everybody is doing their yajna, when everybody is able to understand that we are part and parcel of Krishna and our duty is to do whatever we are doing as a sacrifice to Krishna. That actually brings more joy than when you do things for yourself. So when you start doing whatever you do for others or for Krishna, then you experience a much higher bliss than when you do things for your own sense gratification. And in the next verse, Krishna says that the regulative activities are prescribed in the Vedas. So where do we get to know what are the things we need to do? The Vedas are telling us what to do. So when we say that you're doing good things, or when we say you're doing bad things, when you do things which are prescribed by the Vedas, all those are good. That is, you're following your varna and ashrama. It means what is varna? I think I've already explained this. Varna means basically the characteristics with which you are born. That means, suppose you have a natural, inclination to teach, you become a teacher. You have a natural inclination to heal or to study biology or to help people, want to understand the human body. Or you have a natural tendency to construct. You have a natural inclination to do business or to do farming. Or you have a natural inclination to serve others and you get great joy and you want to be in the service industry. So whatever it is, that natural tendency, if you're able to follow and do that well, That is, you're following a Varna Dharma. And Ashrama Dharma is based on your age. So suppose you are initially in your student life, then you do exactly that. You only study without any other pleasure-seeking activity. Especially celibacy is considered to be really important in the initial lives when you're studying. Sadly, in today's world, they force children into co-ed, they force children into, you have to mix freely and you should know, and then it's difficult because the attraction is very natural. So it's we are just going against what is prescribed in the Vedas, and then we end up finding the children are, you find young teenagers who are pregnant, and we find all these big consequences because of the adults not knowing what the Vedas or what the scriptures are prescribing and why they're prescribing, what the reason behind it, the depth of it is not understood. So generally, whatever we do as per the Vedas is karma or good karma, pious activities, and anything that you're doing which is, against the Vedas is impious activities or vikarma, for which you have to bear the negative consequences. Whatever, different new religions people will create, and they will say, oh, for us, this is fine. Maybe in a Hindu, for you, this is okay, but for us, it is fine. But then what people fail to understand is the law of human beings and God is one. It's not different. Just because you create your own religion and you state some kind of own laws, it doesn't change the law of nature. The nature will not act differently for different people, whatever the different nationalities or caste or creed is. So that is one thing, so we have to understand and have place our faith on the scriptures and try to understand it better. Actually, there's no need to read any other scripture but the Bhagavad Gita, because the Bhagavad Gita, as we have said in the beginning of this class in the orientation, it is the sum and the essence of the entire Vedas and Upanishads. So understanding the Gita is enough. And then you can proceed to studying the Bhagavatam when you really enjoy listening about Krishna and Krishna's devotees. The next step would be to study and understand the Bhagavatam. And it is so nectarian. Once you start being in some Bhagavatam class, and you will really enjoy it. It'll be so blissful, it'll be addictive. You'll just feel like listening to the Bhagavatam and staying there in that world of Bhagavatam. So anyway, what I was trying to say is that the Vedas are ones which tell us what our duties are. And what are the Vedas? They're actually directly manifested from the personality of Godhead. So the Vedas are supposed to come out from the, from the breathing of Vishnu. Vishnu as in Krishna, both are same. They're just, extensions. So from the breathing of Vishnu, these Vedas have come out. So, actually Vishnu or Krishna, they all the parts of the body can do every other function. So, they can speak through their breath. Krishna can speak through his breath. Like how he gives the knowledge of Vedas to the world through his breath. He can impregnate the mother nature by looking, by just glancing. He's able to impregnate mother nature and put in all the living creatures, the life into the material world just with a glance. So all these we will study in the Bhagavatam. When we understand exactly more and more, we become curious of what exactly is God and how does he act. So here Krishna is, we come to know from this verse that the Vedas are nothing but God himself, is manifesting as a Veda. So therefore, consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. And that is why the Vedas are telling us our duties. The duties we have to do as a sacrifice. And so the God himself is situated in the sacrifice. And that's how it happens that we start getting the benefit. So this is called a cycle of sacrifice. So it begins on top. You can see the Lord is there. That is, you can see on top Krishna. And then we have Brahma. Brahma receives the Vedas from Krishna. Brahma passes it on to Narada. Narada to Vedavyasa. Vedavyasa, it's actually Vedas are initially just very short because, we are a little bit stupid. So we can't understand so well fast. That's why, Vedavyasa puts in a lot of effort and divides the whole concept of Vedas into 4. And in fact, there's a 5th one. All the Upanishads and the Mahabharata and the Gita are all nothing but the 5th. In fact, I'm not the one saying it, nor is ISKCON just creating it. It is there in the scriptures that all these, the Mahabharata and the different Upanishads, all of them comprise the 5th Veda. So all of these Vedas, where do they come from? From the Lord himself. And then what do we do when we understand the Vedas? We know we have to do our duties as per our Varna and Ashram, and we have to offer it to Krishna. So when we offer whatever we do to Krishna, it becomes a sacrifice. And whenever anybody, around you is doing a sacrifice, suppose you see someone sitting and chanting, what a foolish waste of time that stupid fellow is doing, just sitting in front of God and just chanting and chanting, good for nothing. That is the attitude which people have. They see their grandmother sitting with the beads and they say she's just, has nothing else to do. But actually, what she's doing is bringing in more auspiciousness than all of your running around helter skelter and trying to earn some money and then spending it entirely on your sense gratification. It's not helping anyone. Her chanting is helping bringing in the auspiciousness in the world more than what other people are running around and running after the carrots and running after the material pleasures, what they are doing for the world. And because of all the sacrifices done by the good people of the world, we have rains. And because of the rains, we have grains. And from the grains, we get our food. And what should we do to the food? We just eat it? No, we have to offer it. We can offer it to the demigods following the Vedas initially, but when we realize that the aim of the Vedas is to realize Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha, that is understanding that Krishna is everything. That, when you serve Krishna, automatically all the demigods become pleased. There's no need to worry, oh my God, if I don't serve, if I don't pray to this particular God I have been praying, or I don't serve it, then he's going to be angry. No, the moment you come to Krishna consciousness and you come to Krishna, actually all the demigods, all the gods and goddesses become very happy. But it doesn't mean you have to stop what you're doing, just because you come to the class and you have to forcefully stop. No, you just continue whatever you have been doing, but try to read the Gita and understand what is this holy scripture of ours telling us. It is, it is very amazing. As you come to know more and more, you will really feel amazed. It's a very amazing and miraculous knowledge which transforms our life like anything. So I'm just going through a cycle quickly. The cycle of rain and grain is taking place all the time. Everybody who is doing yajna, who is praying, who's dedicating their whatever they're doing to God, they are the ones who are bringing in all auspicious which is there. Likewise, whoever is not doing it or whoever is causing more and more disturbance in the world, they are the ones who are the reasons for all the calamities. So when rain is happening, that is why, let me just go one more, digress a little bit once more. That is why in the reign of Yudhishthir and in the reign of Ram, we say that, there was nothing unhappy happening. Even the rains were on time, the cows were giving more milk, the grains were more, the fruits and vegetables were big and juicy. So, actually when everything is going on well and everybody is doing their duties very nicely, then even nature cooperates. And there won't be calamities and stuff like that because there is no reason for nature to become angry with us. And then there's rain, and because of the rain, we have grain which sustains us. So we are eating the grain, the body is being produced from the grain, the mud is getting converted to grain with the help of the rain and the sunlight. So it's actually another form of mud. I just here also digress a little. The mud has been transformed by God's technology, and modern science has not been able to do that, transforming the mud into this plants which are becoming our body, and our body is therefore, that's why in the Bible we hear this beautiful quotation, for dust thou art and unto dust thou shalt return. So it's about the body, the soul will be there forever. So Krishna is reminding Arjuna in this verse about this integral wheel of creation and how it is necessary for us to realize that we are playing a very important role in getting, this prosperity and auspiciousness to everybody around us. Because yajna sacrifices God, it sacrifices all the devatas who are doing the administrative work, and therefore it bestows prosperity upon such a soul. A material conscious person, he will try to maximize the grains by his own efforts, whereas a spiritually conscious person, not that he will not do farming, he will not do the work which is required for the grain to come, but a spiritually conscious person will understand that he has to perform yajna, and he will be a good human being performing yajna, performing his duties in the spirit of sacrifice to the Lord. So therefore, actually the farmers and those ancient people who used to just turn to the sun and just turn and pray, they are much higher position than the scientists today, who are many of them who are pure atheists and just disregarding the presence of God and not even coming to the scriptures. You see, okay. So they work, so their work becomes yajna. And whatever work we do, we offer it to God, it becomes a yajna. So we have to develop the spirit of yajna. When somebody develops a deep aspiration, whole society, if it becomes God conscious and people are all doing their duties in their proper attitude, and then the gods will bestow material prosperity to us. To serve God for His pleasure. That's what we have to do. Remember, yesterday we did Rishi Kena Rishi Kesha Sevanam Iti. What is that? Rishi Kena Rishi Kesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. Bhakti is simply using all your senses to serve Krishna. And then you'll find the whole universe is cooperating. At this point of time, I would just like to state, there is something which is going on around where people say that you can, what is that? You can manifest. Yeah, the word is manifest. You can manifest whatever you want. So actually, the manifestation of miracles is basically when you're really thinking of focusing on what is really required so hard, and that means you are kind of collaborating with what God really wants. And as you become purer and purer, as you meditate and you keep becoming pure, you will find that the things you desire is in line with what God desires, and therefore it starts appearing to us. Suppose you're continuously chanting, then what you want to do is in line with what is God's plan, and therefore it suddenly appears that it's miracles. So it's basically we cooperating with God. And how does yajna sacrifice, how should it be in the Kali Yuga? There is actually a sacrifice suitable for every age. In the Satya Yuga, when people had about 10 lakh years lifetime, each person would live for so long, they could go in the forest and spend years together meditating. But it's not suitable for people in the Treta Yuga. There, they would follow the Vedas and they had to do the proper, sacrifice. And the Brahmanas were very pure. They didn't even have to use a matchstick to light the fire of the yaga. They had the mantras they knew were so powerful that the fire would be, the yajna, that place would just be lit up because of the power of the mantra. And then that kind of purity is now not there. Even the ghee or nothing is pure today, so it's just not possible. And in the Dwapar Yuga, it was deity worship. So the deity worship is also very, very elaborate, and there are a lot of rules to follow. Ideally, the best form, and Krishna, clearly declares, even in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 12th canto, as also, there are many scriptures which clearly indicate that the Kali Yuga is a time for chanting. So today we will be spending a little time on looking at chanting also. So chanting is very important. You will also get material benefits, but the material benefits are actually secondary. What are the material benefits? Just to go through it once, it increases your mental focus. It will help you to focus on whatever you're doing. It will decrease your disturbed and anxious mind. It will make you free from all tensions and anxieties. And it will help you to become one with Krishna, in the sense that you will automatically want things which Krishna wants. So therefore, things will happen just the way you feel. You feel like that, that's the way I want, but actually it's because you're wanting what Krishna wants. So this is what we should do. So you should start, everyone here, those who are not, who have not been chanting, you must understand that this is very, very crucial for this age and time. The only way we can keep Krishna in our mind is by constantly chanting his names. And so the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the one which is prescribed in several scriptures. This is not created by ISKCON or by Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, it is there in the scriptures. This is one of the scriptures. It's called the Brihad Naradya Purana. It says, Harir Nama, Harir Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalau Naaste Eva Naasti Eva, Nasi Eva Gatir Anyatha. For deliverance in the Kali Yuga, there is no other way, no other way, no other way. It's said 3 times to emphasize, except the chanting of the holy names. That's the only way for us to escape from this world. So for spiritual progress in this age, no other alternative. So when to chant? The best time to chant. Actually, there is no specific rule to chant. That's the best part. How to chant is, you just have it's best to chant on beads. So in case you don't have beads, it's a good idea to buy the beads. Otherwise, you can chant on a counter, or you can also chant on the, what do you call it? You can also chant on your fingers. That's also fine. But it's very nice if you have this mala. And then there is a Krishna bead on which you chant the initial mantra, which we will share in the group later. And then you chant ideally 108 times at least. You can chant when you're alone. You can sit in, the whole family can chant together. You can chant at home. You can chant outside. You can chant it as a song, as in the form of a kirtan. Whatever way you chant, it is only beneficial for you. So initial mantra here is the initial mantra which you chant on the initial bead before you chant 108 rounds is called Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Now why do we say this? This is because in the Kali Yuga our minds are very disturbed, and this mantra is very powerful. It is equal to Krishna. The moment you chant this mantra, Krishna is on your tongue, and so you have to revere this mantra. It's like you call Krishna, and then your Krishna is sitting in front of you, and you're looking here and there and worrying about tomorrow's plans, or you're bothered about something else. So that's kind of an offense. So therefore we have to seek the blessings of all the gurus before we start chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's what it says, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, and this is the one. So Yajna, when we reach chapter 10, we will learn that Yajna Nam Japo Yagnosmi. So Krishna will say, among all the different yagnas or sacrifices, I am Japa. So we will understand this very nicely when we come to chapter 10, why Krishna says this. So although there is no rule for chanting or reading the scriptures, some people when they have their, ladies when they have their periods, or when somebody dies, or sometimes I have too much of work, or I can't chant at night, it's too much, I don't have time to chant in the morning, I can only chant at night, and so that's not nice, so I don't want to chant. So people will find some reason or the other not to chant. But there is actually no rule. You can chant if there is a death in your family, you can chant if there are periods. It's not like you cannot touch the Bhagavad Gita when you have periods, or when someone has died in the family. So these rules that do not apply to the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It does apply to the Vedic mantras and other mantras. There are a lot of mantras which have restrictions. You have to bathe and all. For this, you don't even need to bathe. You can simply chant. Although there is no rule for chanting the mantras, yet it is best to perform it in the early morning. Why? Because when we study the different three modes of material nature, when we study about Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamogun, the sattva, the morning hours is full of sattva gun. So it's ideal to stand in the Brahma Muhurta, and during this time of the day the world is very peaceful. There is no the influence of passion and ignorance. That is Rajogun and Tamogun is less. Brahma Muhurt begins 1.5 hours before sunrise. So, although this may be difficult for some devotees, rising early is generally good. So, you can try it out. If not, please don't say, I'm not going to chant because of that. What happens is you gradually raise your consciousness from these levels one by one. So, you can see the bottom person here smoking, drinking, just eating whatever without any understanding of what the scriptures prescribe for us to eat, and just living life for the sake of eating, sleeping, and just for some luxury. That kind of a person is living quite an animalistic life, and he or she is in the bodily platform of life, only bothered about eating and sleeping. Then, when a little bit higher his consciousness rises, then he comes to the sensual platform, and then he starts seeking some higher kind of sense gratification. He wants to probably, he's not bothered only about the body. He is bothered about how to feel more gratified in higher ways. For example, then he moves on to the mental platform where he starts reading books, he starts listening to music, and he's now he wants to satisfy his mind and intelligence as well. Now from the bodily platform, sorry man. So now from the bodily platform, he moves to sensual platform, and then the mental platform, and then higher still his consciousness will reach the intellectual platform when he starts being able to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. So that is the intellectual platform. What is the difference between mental and intellectual? Mind is when you start going behind the different things the mind says is nice. Oh, it's nice, let me do that. Oh, this is not nice. So when you're, trapped by the dualities and just go behind whatever your mind tells you, then you are in the mental platform. But then when you start thinking a little more, having some discrimination, like I told you the other day, when your thoughts come into your mind, it's in the thinking stage, and then when you think about it more and more, like we had learned in chapter 2, Dhyayato Vishayan Punsa Sange Seshu Pajayate, you keep thinking and thinking, it comes into your feeling, and then you're willing to do it. But then in the intellectual platform, you don't allow the thoughts to simply enter into your feeling and willing. You actually think whether this is right. Will Krishna be happy? Is this the right thing for me to do? So then you have reached the intellectual platform. And higher still, when you stop worrying so much about what is right and wrong. And when you understand that Krishna is everything, then you are in the absolute bliss, the platform of spiritual, bliss, where Satchidanand is called. So that platform is the highest that we should all aim to be. So we should gradually raise our consciousness from the bodily to sensual to mental to intellectual, and we must try to reach a spiritual platform. In chapter 3, so far, we have already covered the yoga ladder. It begins with the lowest materialistic life. Like I told you, it's almost like an animal, just eating, sleeping, mating, defeating. No belief in Vedas. They will, people who do not come to the scriptures cannot begin this journey, because they will simply say, oh, this is written by some old people and doesn't even, it's not related to today's world at all. They're very much mistaken. As you really go deeply, it is so, much, any age, it is actually doable. And the only enjoyment propensity in the materialistic life, and very selfish and self-centered. Then gradually they start to understand, it's my responsibility to educate myself about God. Like how all of you have come into this class today, you want to understand Krishna. You're spending time for that. You're dedicating a Saturday evening and tomorrow Sunday evening 1 hour to understand. So that's how you're growing your consciousness. And then there are two options when you realize, you can continue with your sinful activities, or you can try to be sinless. But then, you'll find out, but, in the end of this chapter, when Arjuna asks, how is it that I'm doing sinful things when I know it is sinful? And then, the answer comes very nicely. And then we will discuss the answer at the end of the chapter. So, and then comes the karma kanda. That is actually the beginning of spiritual life. In this yoga ladder, we're only seeing how we begin our spiritual life. In the karma kanda is when you start at least accepting the Vedas. And then you use the Vedas for what? For your own enjoyment. You do different kind of pujas to different gods. Oh God, give me a son. Oh God, please let me pass my exam. Oh God, let my son get a job, or whatever. And then you do different, you try at least at least you start bowing down to some superior authority. And then that is when, but yet in this stage, it's not, you're not spiritual. It's just the beginning of your journey to spirituality. So karma yoga after karma kanda. So I've already discussed materialistic people, how they are. And then after karma kanda is done, when is the next step you are now entering is karma yoga. That is the, first step when you're moving towards the bhakti, which is the highest. So in 3.42 verse, it says, Indriyani paranyahur, Indriyebhya param manaha, manasastu para buddhir, yo buddhe parastastu saha. So here, this is a very important verse. We come to know that, first of all, we come to know that mind and intelligence are different. The scientists are still not aware of that, because they are very subtle, but they are different. And we come to know only from the Bhagavad Gita. The working senses, all our sense organs, they are actually superior to dull matter, that much we can understand. Our senses can control the things around it, right? So all these things around it, the matter, we're able to do something with it. We have a control over that. Likewise, the mind actually is higher than senses. But very often, what does the mind do? It becomes a servant of the senses. It just goes running after the different sense pleasures as per whatever the sense is asking us to do. But then, like I told you, the intelligence is actually more powerful than the mind. So when the mind is given more power than intelligence, that's when we do things randomly. We just do whatever our mind is saying. But if we realize that actually intelligence has more power, then we will give more, we will use our intelligence and raise the level of thinking, from the mental to the intellectual platform. And then finally, we will understand that the soul is actually, right now, what is our condition? We are all conditioned souls. For birds, our souls have been entrapped in this material body, running after just whatever our senses are saying. Only when this knowledge comes to us by the grace of Krishna and Guru, then our soul gradually awakens. And when the soul awakens, it's in bliss, because it realizes who it really is. And it rises above all dualities. There is no need for discrimination thereafter, simply because you are one with Krishna. You are in Krishna consciousness. So here you can see the soul here is a passenger. Our soul is represented by this passenger, and this chariot is the body of this soul. And the driver is the intellect or the intelligence. And these reins which he is holding are the mind. And the horses are the different senses running after sense objects around it. And therefore, the sense objects are inferior. The senses can go running and, do anything with the objects. Likewise, the mind has more power over the senses. It can actually, have control over the horses. But for that, the intellect has to be able to say, do this is not right. Stop, don't do that. This is not right. Do this is the right thing to do. So the intellect should be able to discriminate. And then at last, when the soul realizes that I'm actually not this body at all, I'm actually soul, and my duty is to serve the supreme person, the origin of everything, the supreme proprietor, the superpower who is Krishna. My duty is that I'm part and parcel of him, and I have to serve him, and my greatest joy is in doing that. And then he takes control of his intellect, his mind, everything comes under control, and he is able to lead his life to where it is supposed to be led, which is to Krishna. And that is where, so this is what all these represents, and that is where we are supposed to go. Intelligence which guides the mind is superior, but we know by experience that intelligence can be guided or directed. And who does this? The soul. The soul is therefore superior to all of the other things. Then we have the answer to the question, like I told you yesterday also, that in chapter 3 it will be spoken again, that we all need to always lead by example. There is no one who is not leading in some way. If you're a little boy, you're probably leading the younger children, younger class children. If you have a younger brother, you're leading them. If you're a parent, you're a leader for your children. If you're a teacher, you're leading those children. If you're a political leader, you're leading everyone. So many people. So whatever action is performed by somebody who is great, common men will follow his footsteps. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world will follow. Therefore, we should all try to be role models. This is a very, very, simple thing which Krishna is explaining in the Bhagavad Gita, which we all know by common sense, that we should always try to be role models and we should lead by example. The takeaway is that role models are people who we look up to. They are who we aspire to be. Hence, we must incessantly be cautious in choosing our role models. So it's not only that we should be role models, we should be very careful whom we are following. So Arjuna says, "O descendant of Vrishni, Vrishni is Krishna's clan, by what is one impelled to do?" This is what I told you is a beautiful question of chapter 3. It says, Arjuna is asking, very often we know in our heart, we're doing something, we know it is wrong. We are lying sometimes, somebody has, we did something wrong and we're not able to come to accept that. So we're doing something wrong. And then, just a minute, I'll come back. 1 minute. Sorry about that. So if you observe this picture, what we can see is there are different levels. We have all these envy, ignorance, anger. All these are pulling us down, and we need to cross all these simply by chanting. With the help of this, we have to accept a spiritual master. We have to accept Veda. We have to start practicing austerity and self-control, and then we reach Krishna. So it's not an easy path, but at the same time, it's easy if you simply chant. But what is the reason why we are not able to take that path? Why is it? Arjuna is asking. We know that what we're doing is wrong. Like I was telling you, sometimes we're impelled to say a lie. We know that lying is not right. Or we're impelled to pick up somebody else's thing. Or we're impelled to do even greater sins than that. Right? So many things we do when in our heart we know that this is actually not right, right? But I just feel like I'm not able to stop myself. And you just go and do it. And Krishna gives a very beautiful, clear cut answer. Krishna says that the only reason is lust, is because you are covered by lust. Dhume na vridhyate vanhir yatha darsho malena cha yathol bena avrito garbhas tato tenadam avritam. So we are covered. Avrita means we are covered. Just like this little infant inside the mother's womb is covered. It's very thickly covered. There's no way for it to be in contact with the reality outside. So this is like, the plants and trees which have no consciousness. Their consciousness is totally covered. And then little higher than that is like the fire which is covered by the smoke. So and then, otherwise a mirror which is covered by dust. So our souls are also therefore covered. And what is that which is covering us? It is lust, our desires. The whole reason why the whole material world, we will see in chapter 15, we will look at the inverted tree image and we understand how the whole material world is created because of our lusty desires, or to be separate from Krishna because of our enviousness towards him. Now this is a difficult concept to understand really, but as we keep, reading the Gita, we will really understand it well. So as fire is covered by smoke, a mirror is covered by dust, embryo is covered by womb, all living entities are covered by different degrees of lust. Lust here doesn't only mean, like in English, usually we talk about lust only for sexual desire, but no, in the Bhagavad Gita, when we talk about lust, it's about any desire, just desiring to have a big car, or just desiring to have something which you don't have, which is material and not something which leads you to Krishna. Or if you're using it for Krishna, then it's fine, but otherwise, everything else comes under lust. Therefore, O Arjuna, best of Brahmanas, in the very beginning, here the beginning is a really important word. It means that people think, oh, I will study the Gita when I become old and when I retire. That is when I have no more work to do. That time I will study the Gita. No, the Gita should be studied from the womb. Right? From the mother's womb itself, the little baby should be exposed to the teachings of the Gita. As soon as the child is born, he should be listened to Kirtan. So that, it is actually supposed to be started very early. It also means that whenever your mind gets attracted to do something wrong, at the same moment, you should cut it. At the thinking stage itself, you should not allow your mind to do something. So you have to regulate your senses and slay this destroyer. What is a destroyer? Lust. Different desires that we have, they are the ones which are destroying our knowledge and self realization. Why are people stopping to come in the class? Because they know that we are going on and on discussing in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord Krishna is coming and telling us, stop your attractions to the material world. Stop running after things in the material world. Turn yourself to the transcendentally situated Lord. And they don't like it. It's not very happy thing. The Gita doesn't say something which you like to hear. People like to enjoy the different pleasures and they think that they're happy in the temporary pleasures, but they don't realize that it is actually temporary. Krishna is telling us and opening our eyes and waking our souls, and it is not very pleasant for many people. Therefore, the lust is destroying our knowledge and self realization, and we need to cut that lust. So moderation, people say, often, oh, little bit of drinking is good. Little smoking, that's fine. Or little meat eating, just egg, or, just fish. Fish is a flower of the water. But, what if someone said, little bit of corona is good? Like, is that, would you agree to that? No, you wouldn't, right? So true strength and character is in the ability to say no to vices in your deepest heart. You know this is wrong. You're able to say no, and you're able to say yes to the vices. So, with that, we are concluding chapter 3. I will quickly start chapter 4 as well today. So, what did we see in chapter 3? It's basically dealing with renunciation and action, which I dealt with in a long detail. I spent a lot of time yesterday. And then we looked at the ladder, which spoke about karma kanda to karma yoga. Before that, we also looked at nishkam karma yoga, nityam kuru karma. You have no other choice but to do your duties. And then lead by example, we saw today, and we saw how the greatest, Iha Vairinam. Vairinam means enemy. What is the greatest enemy? Lust. So we understood that. So I will just start off with chapter 4. I hope the chapter 3 is being clear, and I hope I can at least start half of the chapter 4 or maybe full. There are only 10 minutes, so maybe at least I'll begin the chapter 4. So Hare Krishna, chapter 4. What did I open just now? Okay, I think I shared the Google one. Okay. Sorry about the time. I'm just searching for tab. Yeah, I got it. So this is our chapter 4. I'll just start the slideshow from the beginning is not needed. So we'll start from exactly where we start with chapter 4. Chapter 4 is called Jnana Yoga. It's called a yoga of knowledge. What is a Jnana Yoga? Firstly, we come to know that Jnana is Gita. We come to know everything that we need to know from the Bhagavad Gita. And chapter 4 begins with the history of the Bhagavad Gita. It's going to tell us exactly when it was spoken, why it was spoken, what are the reasons for it. All this will be explained in the very beginning of the chapter. So let's go in deep into an understanding of the Bhagavad Gita. The first takeaway is that all that I know is that I know nothing. So unless you start with the idea in your mind, I really don't know anything, I need to know. Till then, you can't learn anything. Athar, you want to share something? I can see your hand is raised. Yes, Athar, you can unmute and say. Are they not
Hello,
able to
Ji.
unmute? Yes,
Hello.
Athar.
Mataji, I have
Yes.
doubt. I think my number was leaked because
Your number was leaked?
yes,
Your phone number?
there was so much calls from there saying from ISKCON. They are saying, did you join the classes of 9 p.m. and telling some give the OTPs and code from the number. They will says I will send you OTP and give numbers.
No, don't do any OTP. No ISKCON will ever do that. Maybe, like you said, there is something you have to be careful. Just be wary. I will speak to the admin and see, check if what is happening. But then, if the ISKCON devotees are calling you and asking you, are you attending the class? That is only because they want to, hold you back and give and ensure that you spend this little time for Krishna because it's good for you. And the devotees are getting nothing out of it. They spend their time. There is no material benefit at all for any of the devotees who are related to this class. As you know, even the class is completely free, so there's nothing. It's all for the benefit of everybody. So if there is
Yes,
any other kind of OTP related things, then it's good you report it. I will just check and check with
yes,
the admin.
Mataji.
Okay. Yeah.
Tomorrow means yesterday I there was a call at 8 p.m. They said, you are Athar na, you are joining the 9 p.m. class. For the attendance, I will send you OTP. Give me OTP and
No,
attendance will
no.
be login.
No,
Means
no. Please
you are
don't give any OTP. Don't The OTP is never asked by any ISKCON devotee. You can just cut the phone there and then, okay? And you can block that number. No ISKCON devotee will ask you for an OTP. There's no requirement for that.
and
Contact.
and Mataji, in the chat box there was a attendance na. It is a safe na.
Yeah. The attendance you have to just fill in the form given in the chat box.
Yes, I know, but I think it is safe na.
Yeah, that is safe. Perfectly safe. That is being posted by the admins of our ISKCON only. Okay. It is
Okay,
perfectly
Mataji.
safe. You can please fill it up.
Yes,
Contact Mataji, EY. You have raised your
Yeah,
hand.
ma'am. Yeah, good evening. I
Yeah,
think
good.
we need to be a little careful on whom we are allowing in this class because this gentleman or this guy who just raised the concern, I had the same problems. I got calls from Middle Eastern countries, from Muslim people, asking me my religion and why I was into all this Krishna consciousness. I'm not a Hindu. I'm a Buddhist. So I'm a little worried and I'm absolutely concerned. Like somebody's got my number, and these people keep calling, and they call at very weird timings. There was a lady from UK. She also called me, but I understand she's related to ISKCON. But then I got calls from the Middle Eastern countries talking about Islam, and it was very irritating because I was with my students that time in the middle of the class.
You're a teacher?
I think we need to be a little careful on whom we are allowing because the first day I had raised the problem. There was a guy called Muhammad. He had infiltrated this group and he was messaging all the nonsense. And after I messaged, then he was thrown out. But I think I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I think the data of a lot of our users has already been leaked, which is really not a very pleasant experience,
Yeah,
I
we
would say.
understand. We understand. After the first day, the day this Muhammad thing happened, I was busy teaching, but then the co-host Chitra Mataji and Anuradha, they did notice that, and then I think the numbers in the Zoom in the WhatsApp group has also been. I think others will not be able to view. So whatever are the actions to be taken will be taken, and we really apologize for this disturbance created by somebody else using the numbers. So definitely
Hello,
this.
Mataji, hello.
Yeah.
And Mataji, there also the doubt in a group. I think that the scammers take the number from the group and calling like this. And that call, when I search on Truecaller, there was a name from UK ISKCON. And this third call means one more call comes, and that name the ISKCON Mangaluru. But
Okay.
the two calls are saying give me OTP for the attendance you didn't attendance. And from starting when I joined the class, from that class I am giving attendance. That also the call and says
Yeah,
you.
there's no need for you to do anything for attendance because you are attending the class anyway.
Yes.
Guilty,
Mataji,
Mataji, you raised your hand. Hare Krishna. Yeah, please
ma'am,
raise your
yes, ma'am.
hand, please, Auntie.
Actually, today for me also some call has come, but I could not pick that call. But my husband has picked, and they were talking something. They are from ISKCON, and they were telling something. But he said, "Okay, someone called your number saying from ISKCON." But what they were talking, I did not understand at all. It was not something like that. So he said, but I didn't pick that call. But he said, this is how you received a call, and I picked that call and
I would
gave
advise
call.
you to just block that number and report also. You can block, and there is a provision where you can block and report. And I will also, already they have taken steps, the admin and the management have taken steps to block these, numbers from being shared on the Zoom. So on the WhatsApp group as well. So if that is not done, I will just check and follow up and ensure that is done. I request if there is any call which you know is not from an ISKCON devotee who's trying to inspire you to join the class, please
Ma-
immediately not only cut the call, don't go for further. Straight away block and report. Block the number and report.
Mataji,
Yes.
Mataji, I have request. Can you recheck the group and remove some 2 3 people's? I think there was a scammer taking the other's number and calling.
Okay.
Mataji, I think they got the number because remember, I think it was on day 1 or day 2. You told us to post our numbers in the chat. Whenever
Okay.
that Muhammad was there, I think that's how they got our numbers.
Oh, okay, okay. No, no, we won't be doing that. That was a mistake, so it won't be repeated. And thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, there are many elements who want to disturb these kind of activities. Like I told you, there'll be many of them. And so it's important for us to take necessary measures and see that they don't disturb us. Yeah, we will definitely take steps towards that. Thank you so much. So moving on, we'll just do a few more understanding the chapter 4 beginning introduction, and we'll cover it tomorrow. Chapter 5 is small, so I think tomorrow we'll be able to make up fully. So, like I told you, Socrates says that you have to begin with an understanding that I don't know anything. Otherwise, with all the knowledge that you already have, you will not be able to get the knowledge of the Gita. So, no matter how smart a cockroach is among its gang of cockroaches, it cannot understand something, like quantum mechanics. Doesn't even matter if the teacher is some Erwin Schrödinger, some great scientist, right? So we, with our material senses, all human beings, we have limited material senses. Our senses will never be able to fathom everything, and therefore, we cannot try by ourselves saying that, oh, I know, I understood. That's why this knowledge of spiritual knowledge comes in the descending way. We have to get it from the scriptures with the higher intelligence, where Krishna himself comes and gives us the knowledge. Only then it will be open to us. So in Kali Yuga, we are like cockroaches in the world of spiritual science because our intelligence is very limited. Long ago, the Vedas and scriptures, would just be spoken, and they would just listen, and they would have the whole thing in their memory. But right now, we can't do that. We need books, we need scriptures, we need all this. Therefore, we have to approach them to understand, whatever is possible for us to understand. Even then, Krishna will always remain Achintya, but at least we will get to know what is our purpose as a human being, because never we can understand everything. The transcendental knowledge, this chapter, is talking about spiritual education system, why and where the Supreme Lord appears. It will give us the law of karma. So in this chapter, we will look at the law of karma. We will see the history of Bhagavad Gita, why Krishna chose Arjuna, and we will also look at the four divisions of human society, which is highly misunderstood and misinterpreted. So unless we have an open mind, if we have that aversion, it will not enter. So we have to begin with a blank slate. So in the first verse, Krishna says, we'll just do up to the second or third verse today, I think, because it's time. So in the first verse, Krishna, this chapter begins with Krishna saying that, Imam vivasvate yogam proktavanaham avyayam vivasvan manave prahaha manur ikshvaka vibravit. The Blessed Lord said, I instructed this imperishable science of the yoga to the sun god Vivasvan, and Vivasvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku, who's, in whose lineage Lord Ram comes. So, what do we know over here? This is a little difficult for us to fathom, but then, like I told you, we need to understand that sun god, we may think, okay, how come in the sun there is a king, or how there come there's a sun god? Yes, there is a sun god. Krishna is saying, so there is. So he instructed it to Vivaswan, and I told you that the soul that we have, it is the eternal one, but it can be covered in different subtle. The layers around can be in different various variations of subtlety. So in the sun also, like we learned in chapter 2, the soul cannot be burnt, right? So the body that people have in the sun, who are the inhabitants of the sun, their body is such that the heat doesn't matter to them at all. So only when we make ourselves worthy of going to the sun planet will we be able to be an inhabitant of the sun. So there is a sun god, and the sun god instructs this Gita to Manu, and so on. That is how it began. So this is not just 5,000 years ago, but millions and millions of years ago that the Gita is there. That's what Krishna is trying to say. And then he says, Evam parampara praptam vimam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashtah parantapa. So what does Krishna say? He says that this supreme science, so I've told you spirituality is not a material thing. It's just not a whim. It's not something which is just a story. It is a science, and it was received through the chain of disciplinic succession. That means it just passed down the generations in knowledge. And then the saintly kings, predominantly understood. Why saintly kings? In those days, the kings were, the protectors of dharma. They took it upon themselves to ensure that all the people in the kingdom, they understand Krishna and they try to go back to Godhead. So in due course of time, what happens? Obviously, because this is a material world and time has a way of destroying everything gradually, and people become corrupt. So that is what Krishna is saying. Krishna is saying that this is what happens, and it happens regularly. So that is the reason why eventually the science keeps getting lost. People will misrepresent it, they will make it to their own advantage, and they will twist the meaning, and then it gets lost, and then he has to come again. Krishna will appear, either he will send somebody as his messenger, or he'll send somebody as his devotees who will come as a guru, and they will teach us this pristine knowledge once more. So that very ancient science, the relationship with the Supreme, is today told by me to you, because you are my devotee and my friend. So here we can understand why Krishna gives the information only to somebody who is a devotee or a friend. So with this, I think today I'll stop the class. What we need to understand is we need to be a friend to Krishna and a devotee, and then only we can understand this transcendental mystery. And this is a science. We will be able to understand it when we accept Krishna's divinity. And then thereafter, when you reach chapter 18, then if you decide that, okay, I don't want to, I don't want to believe this, or I can't take it, I think, it's not my cup of tea, then Krishna says, fine, go ahead. He never insists upon anybody. That's why there are so many people who don't believe, and Krishna gives them also equally food, water, air, everything. He gives everything, to everyone. So anyone has a doubt? Yes, Sayan?
Oh, Mataji, I forgot to lower my hand.
Okay. So it's 10 already. Should I end the class, or does anybody have a question? Yeah, group details should not be shared. I am not new. I'm joining 4th standard. I'm in 8th. Okay. Yes, it's a good platform to learn the Gita. Thank you so much, Athar. And let me end the class. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacho patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you so much for joining. Please join in tomorrow. We will finish chapter 4 and 5.